The former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort likely facing additional time behind bars this week. He is set to be sentenced by Washington, D.C. federal judge Amy Berman Jackson on Wednesday for illegal lobbying and some other charges. This, of course, comes after that federal judge of Virginia on Thursday handed Mr. Manafort that controversial 47-month prison term, far less than the 24 years he could have received for numerous financial crimes. Former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, the controversial top official who was at the center of the Russia investigation, had this to say this morning about Manafort's fate.
There's no question he's going to get additional time from D.C. I don't think it's probably the job of the D.C. courts to rectify a mistake or something that was done in another jurisdiction. I'm sure that Judge Jackson will approach her sentence with just keeping her eye on the facts of that case.
So will Manafort get the max? Let's bring in our legal panel, trial attorney Rachel herself and defense attorney and former prosecutor Jana Spilborn. Jana, let me start with you.
Sure.
Do you think Judge Jackson's going to throw the book at him, or like Judge Ellis, really give him a rap on the knuckles?
Well, I never thought I would agree with anything that came out of Andrew McCabe's mouth, but I will say that it is not this judge's job to try to fix what she may perceive to be a light sentence that came out of Virginia. That said, she's going to have to measure quite a few things to determine how much, if any, additional time is going to be appropriate for Paul Manafort. I think one of the key aspects here is going to have to dig into the reason why his plea deal in this case went south. Because remember, he's not been tried for that. He's not been tried for witness tampering. The prosecution's going to have to make a very convincing case, a compelling case, to make if they want this judge to throw the book at Paul Manafort.
And Jana, Rachel, this Jackson's case has to do with being an unregistered lobbyist for Ukraine, witness tampering, as Jana just said, and basically lying to federal prosecutors as part of his pre-deal. I mean, you think any federal judge is going to countenance lying and go easy on that?
No, absolutely not, Eric. But the maximum sentence that he's facing for the two counts that she's sentencing him for is 10 years, 5 years per count. So really, what could happen is whether or not that's going to run concurrent, whether it's going to run consecutively with his other sentence. And I think that it's important to really consider and kind of step back from it and really look at the defendant as the criminal defendant without all of the bells and whistles of what the case actually is here. This is a 69-year-old man who, while nobody is saying he did right, has no prior criminal record. What Judge Ellis was saying when he was looking at sentencing this was the full factors. And the fact that he had no prior criminal record, 69 years old, significant health issues, as a criminal defense attorney, these are all things that I would be arguing. And when he looked at it, he said the sentencing guidelines here are way out of whack. And what it's more a testament to is not the fact that it was a light sentence. 47 months is nothing to sneeze at for a 69-year-old man with significant health issues who had no prior criminal record. But what it does say is that the sentencing guidelines overall are out of whack, and it's an incredible commentary on the fact that we really need criminal justice reform in this country.
Why was everyone jumping up and down last week, saying that he basically got off with the slap on the wrist?
Well, again, I think that you need to look at it and you need to say 4 years is nothing to sneeze at. When you're comparing it to 19 to 22 years or 19 to 24 years, what the guidelines call for, the bottom line is here, this wasn't a crime like drugs, child porn, child abuse that has a mandatory minimum. The law allows for the judge to depart. And when the judge looked at it, he said, listen, I appreciate all of this other stuff, but to me, this is a financial crime. And for a financial crime, I'm going to sentence him similarly to how I've sentenced others for similar crimes. And 4 years is nothing to sneeze at, especially when everyone in the room was actually considering the fact that with his significant health issues, it pretty much was the equivalent of a life sentence, particularly if next week he's sentenced to any additional time. He's looking at a potential 14-year sentence.
Yeah, let me get into that with Jana. I mean, potential 14-year sentence, because let's say he gets the max.
Right.
He could serve it concurrently, not consecutively, if indeed the judge decides to do that. But let me, Jana, get back to you on the issue of lying to prosecutors.
Right.
When you make a plea deal and you say you swear and put your hand on the Bible to tell the truth and you don't, what is the reaction of the law enforcement community and that judge who went to Harvard Law, used to give commentary on Fox News, among other things? What do you think her reaction is when law enforcement is challenged like that?
Prosecutors and judges don't like people who lie, and they also don't like to be lied to, obviously. So, you know, she could come down with the full wrath, if you will. But you got to remember something else here, too. Paul Manafort's team is claiming, hey, wait a minute. No, we didn't. We didn't tamper with any witnesses. Nobody lied here. It's a matter of, dare I say, opinion. And perhaps Paul Manafort's team can make a compelling argument to this judge, Judge Jackson in D.C., that'll allow her to say, look, he wasn't tried for this additional charge. You didn't convince me that it actually happened.
Yeah, there was no trial.
To sentence him to, there was no trial, so I'm going to sentence him to something that's not going to have him dying in prison, Eric, because, you know, our other guest is correct. He's 69 years old. He's going to be there for 4 years, if he lives that long.
Do you think...
Exactly.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is, any criminal defense lawyer, John, will agree with me on this. You know, you make the arguments treating the defendant that you're handling, right? And in this case, if you ignore the circus that's with it and you just presented the facts as they were, this is a guy with no priors, 69 years old, significant health issues. It is what it is.
Yeah, Rachel,
Eric, he never would have been indicted for anything if he weren't part of the witch hunt. Nobody cared about these crimes in Ukraine or the alleged crimes in Ukraine. Nobody cared about them until Donald
Trump. Would say this is not a witch hunt because there've been a
slew I don't think it's a witch hunt at all.
Of indictments already, and the Russians did interfere with our system. But quickly, yes or no, Rachel and John, let me ask this one question: the President of the United States had been close with the Paul Manafort, chairman of the campaign. Do you think the president will pardon Manafort? Rachel.
I think it's entirely possible.
One at a time.
Sorry.
Rachel, go ahead.
I think it's entirely possible because he's done things that I disagree with every day, and I wouldn't agree with pardoning Paul Manafort. I think that justice is done by the sentence that has been imposed. It was a fair sentence based on all factors, and if he pardons him, I think it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows, and I don't think that it would be just.
Jonna, do you think that he'll be pardoned?
If this judge gives him the max and runs it consecutively, I think there's an excellent chance Donald Trump will contemplate that, not till after the Mueller report, and not till after 2020.
All right, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. We'll be covering it, of course. Thank you.
Thanks.
Arthel.
Thank you.